Hello, everybody. First, I'd like to say what's up to all of my subscribers. And I appreciate each of you for visiting my channel to get the latest sports news from What's Up TV Sports. Y'all know the microphones stay on fire over here. And the only way to put out this fire is to put out that news. But first, fire for a like. Fire for a like. Fire for a like. Please take time while I give you this news to press the thumbs up or like button to help the channel grow. Any support you give, I truly appreciate it and say thanks to you in advance. Well, it seems like this topic is still on fire, and since it's still on fire, I might as well give it to you hot. Everybody's still hot and fussy over this alleged Shedeur scandal in the NFL. A lot of folks are still confused, but I believe I have something that nobody else is talking about. And these facts may catch a lot of y'all off guard, but it just might give a whole lot more understanding to people that still want to know what the hell really happened and why. Now, believe it or not, I've been on this topic since Coach Prime first came to Colorado from JSU, an HBCU college, historical black university. That's Jackson State University, that is. Well, I believe the roots to this collusion theory actually begin. So what I'm saying is I believe is that the Ncaa, the National Collegiate Athletic Association that runs the collegiate college football programs, set the stage for the NFL collusion against Sheduer theory or alleged theory to actually begin. So to understand this, we're going to have to go back. So what I'm saying, I believe, is that the Ncaa set the stage for the NFL collusion against Sheduer. Now, that's alleged, but we got to go over the Ncaa and what they were doing to Colorado, Coach Prime, and quarterback Sheduer, and hell, for that matter, the whole Colorado football team that primarily came over from HBCU. To understand this ideal of collusion, we got to go back. So let's go back. There are currently no credible reports or confirmed evidence that the Ncaa or the NFL has colluded against Shedeur Sanders regarding the NFL draft. While there's been plenty of media discussions about Sanders' draft stock, his decisions to stay another year at Colorado to play football for one more year, right, and critique maybe some of the scouts a little bit better, nothing points to an organized effort of collusion by these organizations. Now, this is what they say, but we're going to dig deep in this here. We're going to pull the rabbit out the hat or the cat out the bag. Y'all know the way I do it. It's the only way I know how to do it. No smoke screens here. All fire. Okay, let's start here. Remember when I said that Deion Sanders was at JSU, a historical black college? Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit before he came over to Colorado. It's the only way you're going to understand what's really going on. You can't start at the NFL level because it didn't happen at the NFL level. It didn't start at the NFL level. So we got to take it back. And this is why a lot of people are confused as into what is really going on and why is this even happening to Sheduer, because it doesn't make sense to anybody. None of it makes sense, right? But by the time I'm finished sharing this with you, at the end, then you can make that decision for yourself of what is really going on with these fools. Now, Deion Sanders, known as Coach Prime, had a massive impact on Jackson State University. That is JSU. Remember that historical black college I was telling you about? Well, yeah, he had a massive impact on that program when he served as head coach from 2020 to 2022. Here's how he helped the program. Man, y'all got to check this out. One moment. Coach Prime helped the program at JSU. You have to understand this before you can understand what happened on the college D1 level when he went to the PWI. That is what's about to get hot, man. Check this out. Now, what did Coach Prime do? And how did he help the program at JSU? Number one, he brought national attention to that college. Before Sanders arrived, JSU and other HBCU, historical black colleges and universities, programs didn't get much national spotlight. Coach Prime's celebrity status brought ESPN coverage, social media buzz, and a major media interest, putting JSU football on the map. Number two, Prime helped JSU improve recruiting. Oh, you don't think that's important in college football? Sanders flipped the recruiting game at JSU. He secured Travis Hunter. Y'all know who this cat is. He's the Heisman Trophy winner, right? This boy's a dog. Well, at this point, he was in high school. But just check out what Coach Prime does. He secured Travis Hunter, the #1 overall high school recruit in 2022, who chose JSU over the powerhouse school like Florida State and Alabama. Oh, wow. So check this out. He also brought in other top recruits and talented transfers, elevating the team's talent level beyond typical HBCU standards. Now, remember that, HBCU standards. See, because they got this thing separated in the college football world. There's certain places where we're supposed to be and stay, and certain places where others can be, well, and some of our kind can be too, if you can perform on that level. Anyways, it's a lot of stereotypes of that. They like to do a lot of separation here with HBCUs versus predominantly white institutions and what black football players that make it to that level to play. But anywho, anyhow, man, we got to cover this and stuff. We just right now talking about the massive bringing that Coach Prime brought to the JSU level when he took that head coach job. So now we know that he bought some massive recruiting there by way of getting Travis Hunter, the #1 overall high school recruit pick, who was scheduled to go to FSU, Florida State University, which was Deion Sanders' alma mater, where he had went to school. That denied him a head coaching job there. So when he took the JSU job, he was able to flip their #1 recruit, which was Travis Hunter, and he brought him over with him to HBCU, right? That was the whole main focus that jumped this thing off, right? Everybody was buzzing, everybody was talking about it. Also, number three, he brought the winning culture over to JSU, Jackson State University. Under Sanders, JSU record dramatically improved. In 2021, JSU went from 11-2, won the SWAC, Southwestern Atlantic Conference Championship, and appeared in the Celebration Bowl. In 2022, they had 12-1 season, another SWAC title, and another Celebration Bowl appearance. Let's cover that again. They bought the winning culture. Under Sanders, Coach Prime, JSU recorded a dramatically improved record in 2021 with Coach Prime there, with Travis Hunter there, with Sheduer there at an HBCU, which was unheard of for these elite talented players to go to an HBCU, which in their terms wasn't up to standard. But anyhow, in 2021, JSU went 11-2. They won the SWAC. The SWAC is what they win in HBCUs. It's a real big deal. It's a real big thing. It's called a Southwestern Atlantic Conference Championship in appearance in the Celebration Bowl. So in 2022, they had a 12-1 season, another SWAC title, and another Celebration Bowl appearance. That was huge. There were some of the best seasons in JSU history. So this is what Coach Prime was bringing to JSU. Also, he did a facility upgrade. Coach Prime pushed for and secured upgrades to JSU facilities, new locker rooms, practice field improvements, and better equipment to help modernize the program and make it more attractive to the recruits. He also did a financial impact. The buzz, man, around Sanders, Coach Prime, that is, led to increased ticket sales at JSU, merchandise revenue, and sponsorship. JSU games became a must-see event, drawing larger crowds and boosting the school's overall athletic revenue. Man, he elevated the HBCU football, right? That's another thing he did. He elevated the football program there. Beyond just the JSU, Coach Prime helped shine a light on all HBCU programs. So that means all historical black colleges, BCU, Bethune-Cookman, FAMU, we can go on, right? His advocacy raised discussions about finding disparities, exposure, and respect for HBCU athletes, coaches, and institutions. So he put a stamp on what he was doing at Jackson State University. So now we got to start understanding what took place before he came to Colorado. Now, while we're talking about Colorado, we got to say this. Rick George, right? he hired Coach Prime, right? So you got to understand when Rick George, the athletic director for Colorado, hired Coach Prime, what they was going through at Colorado. We're going to kind of cover a little bit of these things, man. But right now, we got to stay on topic, man. So while Rick George hire of Coach Prime, right, it brought big upside, it also came with real risk and plenty of criticism. This is where the ball starts turning into discrimination and, I believe, collusion at the NCAA level before they got to the NFL, right? Now, check this out. Stay with me. We're going to go on this journey, and maybe this may make sense to a lot of y'all. Remember, Rick George, the athletic director, he's a white guy. I call him a white brother because he's a real cool guy. Man, he brought Deion Sanders over to Colorado, gave him a chance to come and coach on that level. But he brought a big upside. It also came with real risk and plenty of criticism for doing this to Rick George. Here's the other side of the coin. Now, you may ask, why did it come with a lot of criticism? And this is the thing that I believe started this whole ideal of collusion on the NCAA level, National Collegiate Athletic Association level, which governs all of college, like the NFL governs the NFL football teams. The NCAA governs the college programs. Check this out. Roster overhaul conspiracy. This was the first criticism that Rick George was going to go through for bringing Coach Prime. It was a roster overhaul conspiracy. You see? Or controversy, right? Coach Prime openly told Colorado players after he was hired by athletic director Rick George, he said, I'm bringing my luggage and it's Louis. He told the players, Coach Prime openly told the Colorado players after he was hired, right? He was standing inside of that conference room, right, where they have meetings with the players. And all these players was the former players of Colorado. Shoot, Coach Prime hadn't even got there yet. Right? He was there on his interview, basically, right? Obviously, he had gotten the job higher, but he wasn't finished with JSU. That was wrapping up that season. But he told the players at Colorado, he said, I'm bringing my luggage, and it's Louis. And by Louis, he meant his HBCU, JSU players. Not all of them, but he's letting them know he's putting 50 players that was sitting in that conference room, predominantly all white. And he told them, and I'm bringing my Louis. And again, by this, I believe he meant HBCU and JSU players. Now, you got to remember, HBCU standards, they don't supposed to be able to or recognize or respected to play on a PWI D1 level. But we're going to get to it. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Now, check out what happened when Coach Prime told them in that meeting and told those former Colorado players. He said, I'm bringing my luggage and it's Louis. Over 50 players from that existing roster transferred out. 50 players will leave your team, literally almost no team waiting for you when you get there. A massive turnover, never before seen at the Power 5 level. Remember, these 50 primarily white football players, I want you to get this. Remember, these 50 primarily white football players, before Coach Prime came over, you see, the NCAA was all over this. The NCAA was all over this. The CSU head coach, Oregon head coach, and the NFL owners, you got to get it. When all this happened, Coach Prime told these white boys, paraphrasing, pretty much that's what they were, right? At Colorado, predominantly white institution. And Colorado, out of all schools, their football program was predominantly white program. And these boys, they had a losing season, a terrible season after season. So when Coach came, Coach Prime expects the best. So Coach Prime said, I'm bringing my Louis with me. He didn't say that to try to get rid of the players. He was letting them know that they were going to have to compete. So over 50 players from the existing roster transferred out on Coach Prime. A massive turnover, never before seen at the Power 5 level. No college has never happened before in the history of the Power 5 level. Now remember, you got to keep in mind, you got to remember this entire time that I'm talking to you. You got to remember these 50 primarily white privileged football players. You see? You get it? Okay. Now, the NCAA, the National Collegiate Athletic Association, who govern these colleges, including Colorado, right? The NCAA, the CSU head coach, we're talking about the Colorado State University head coach, Oregon's head coach, and the NFL owners will eventually clap back, and I mean clap back hard, on Coach Prime by hitting him where it really hurts, by drafting his son, QB quarterback Shedeur Sanders, late in the 5th round of the draft. And I believe it all started right here when Coach Prime took that new job to work for Colorado, and he told them 50 players, and I'm bringing my Louis with me. Now, it may not sound like anything to you. It may not sound like anything there. But I am telling you, we have to remember what's going on here. We got to get it. Okay, 50 players disappeared. That's never happened in the history before. Where do you think them 50 players went? These are 50 privileged, predominantly white players. They complained to the NCAA. That's just my opinion. That's my belief. Because the NCAA started doing a lot of little like things that wasn't right to Colorado. And we're going to go over those things. And I want y'all to see that this started at the NCAA level. I want you to see it. Remember, the CSU head coach, right? And I also want you to remember the Oregon head coach and the NFL owners will eventually clap back. And when I mean clap back, I mean they clap back hard on Coach Prime. Y'all know what happened to Shedeur Sanders in the draft? And everybody kind of like, we still trying to figure out like exactly what happened. A lot of people done forgot about this, right? But the CSU coach for Colorado State University, right? I'm going to pull up his name real quick because I want to be able to call his name out for you guys, because it ain't right if we don't call the name out of this coach, right? Because this coach here, he was part of this whole thing jumping off. And so we got to get his name right. Coach Jay Norvell, Colorado State Rams football coach. Coach Jay Norvell, Oregon head coach. Let's get Oregon head coach, because, man, you got to, if you don't understand this, then it's not going to make sense to you how this thing is all playing right now and how it all comes down to the draft. Okay, there he goes, right? Oregon State football coach. So remember, Jay Norvell for CSU, and we have Oregon head coach Dan Lanning. That's his name, Dan Lanning, right? He looks innocent, but believe me, ain't nothing innocent about him. He looks innocent, but there's nothing innocent about him, right? So his name is Dan Lanning. Let's go back. Remember the 50 players that left. They left. They transferred out. Remember, massive turnover never happened on a college Power 5 level, right? 50 players just don't disappear. They don't just disappear because you say, I'm bringing my Louis with me. They took that as, I believe, as like a racist statement. They took that as Deion was attacking them. They took that as Deion was throwing them off the team. And that's not what Deion was doing. Deion was saying, hey, listen, it's time to tighten up. I'm bringing my Louis with me. Meaning these boys here, yeah, they're coming to ball. They're coming to ball, right? So now the NCAA, the CSU head coach, the Oregon head coach, these two coaches out of all coaches on the PWI level that was playing in the conference with Colorado, the team that Coach Prime was coaching, Sheduer was quarterbacking for, they made some real venomous statements to Coach Prime, to Colorado football team. And I believe that was clapping back, because you got to think, the NCAA, the CSU head coach, Jay Norvell, and the Oregon head coach, Dan Lanning, and the NFL owners will eventually clap back. And I mean they would clap back hard on Coach Prime by hitting him where it hurts, by drafting his son, QB Sheduer, late in the 5th round. Now, critics call the exiting of these 50 players ruthless, like it was ruthless, and questioned the ethics of running off players who had scholarships. See, they're trying to build something against Coach Prime. They put in words that don't quite fit the narrative of what Coach Prime really was doing. See, this thing started at the NCAA level. They started building a racist narrative way back then, right? They call it the exiting of these 50 players, ruthless, and questioned the ethics of running off players who had scholarships, while supporters said it was necessary to fix a broken program. Y'all see how they building that against Coach Prime right there? That he ran off these players who had scholarships. He ran off 50 players. No, 50 players disappeared because they was afraid to compete. But this going to build a whole narrative, and the clapback explosion from the NCAA two of the racist head coaches who made these racist venomous statements to Colorado, which stick to this day. We believe that also woke up the NFL with this major clapback that made this a race thing because these 50 players at Colorado just left the team on their own, didn't want to compete, and was crying to the NCAA, I believe, about it. And so it was NCAA now saying, you know what, we're going to do something about it. But it was nothing wrong that Coach Prime had really did. So the NCAA took this on personally. You see, personally, this war, this collusion, this act of discrimination against Coach Prime of Colorado, this is where it began, people. While supporters said it was necessary to fix a broken program at Colorado, they understood these 50 players not have their jobs if they don't compete, but they just left on their own, right? But this became the alleged motive for the NCAA, stay with me, the racist NCAA opponent head coaches of Coach Prime, and eventually the NFL. Yes, eventually the NFL on draft day to clap back at the Sanders' entire family. Because this thing ran deep. And if any of y'all remember when this had happened, man, this thing here ran really deep. Everybody was talking about Deion Sanders. He said, and I'm bringing my Louis. He was standing up in front of those predominantly white football players who just left the team on him, left him with no team. Now, you know it was bad if they left him with no team. They wasn't done yet with this. The racism had took off. Their parents probably was complaining to the NCAA, and this stuff and so now they started building. It was almost like we finna build a scandal. The NCAA scandal against the Sanders family, Coach Prime. Oh yeah, wait till we finish talking about this. Now, why was it important for AD Rick George to bring Coach Prime to Colorado? They were unproven at the Power 5 level. Well, we'll say Coach Prime was unproven at the Power 5 level. Colorado used to be good back in the days, but bringing Coach Prime over there, it could have been a risk. And people was criticizing and some people was happy, right? Because this was truly Coach Prime's first time on a D1 level coaching, but he had done so well at JSU. He done so well at the HBCU level, right? Won the SWAC once, made it to the SWAC the second year, right? So you got to think, Coach Prime had success at Jackson State. But skeptics pointed out that HBCU's competition is very different from the Power 5 world. What are they talking about? They're trying to say that the poorer HBCU black colleges, that they can't compete on that level. I told you there's a lot of racial undertone to this here stuff. So when he came to Colorado, there's a lot of racial undertone going on. You got these 50 players left the team. You got people being skeptic that he could even, that Coach Prime can even coach a team on that level. Yeah, he had some HBCU competition success, but hey, that's different from the Power 5 world. What world? The predominantly white institution world, PWI. That's what those colleges are called. Those colleges, Miami Hurricane, Florida Gators, Clemson, Alabama, Texas, A&M, all these colleges, all them big boy colleges, they are called PWI colleges. They're different from the HBCU, historical black colleges and universities. These are PWI, primarily white institutions. And these are the ones that get all of the televised and all of the viewing to the NFL. So if the NCAA is mad and got some racist undertone agenda against Coach Prime and his Colorado football team, which is led by his son Sheduer, you don't think the head coaches of the NCAA, other teams like CSU and Oregon coach who made those venomous statements, I believe racist undertone statements to Coach Prime in his first year at Colorado, oh yeah, that was sticking. You don't think the 50 players that just quit the team, try to blame Coach Prime like he threw them off the team, that they wasn't crying to the NCAA, but they moms, they come on now, you know what I mean? White parents. This wasn't over by far. Oh, this had got up to the NFL level. Oh yeah, it made it to the NFL level. You gotta understand how this thing is rolling. But I wanted you to see this at the NCAA level so people can understand how this happened to Sheduer at the NFL draft day. Oh, I told you I had some fire for you. So since it's hot, we gonna keep it hot, right? Now let's get back to why there was some critics and some risk with athletic director Rick George bringing Coach Prime over, right? There were skeptics pointing out the HBCU competition ain't on the level of Power 5 world. There were real doubts about whether his coaching style, Coach Prime's coaching style, and his schemes would hold up against teams like Oregon, USC, Utah, teams loaded with NFL caliber talent. Remember I told you, these are colleges, but they're already talking about they have NFL caliber talent. So Could this have ruffled the NFL feathers a little bit? Coach Prime coming up to that level, bringing his HBCU boys with him. NCAA already saying we got this thing set the way we want it set. We don't need you coming trying to change it. But he wasn't doing nothing illegal. Coaches can get hired anytime to play on the HBC on the PWI level. They do all the time, white and black. But this is Coach Prime. And the fact that he was coming from an HBCU, bringing black HBCU players with them that they thought came from a lower standard school to play on that level. This was a mess. Man, y'all don't remember when this was going on? I almost talked about this 2 years ago, but I kept it, and I'm glad I kept it because this is the reason I believe for what the NFL did to Sheduer on draft day. They was clapping back. Oh, this is getting good. Now, let's move on. The athletic director hired Coach Prime. Let's talk about some more of the criticism. Let's talk about some more of the hype, right? They thought it would be too much flash over substance. They thought Coach Prime flash would be over the substance that he would bring to the school program. Some old school analysts and coaches accused Coach Prime of being more about media hype. I think it's the thing the NFL is talking about quarterback Sheduer, YouTube channels. I think that's what the NFL is talking about when they're talking about Sheduer, right? Brash and cocky and confidence and popular and polarizing. All them terms they've been using. Oh, yeah. Let's go back. Flash over substance. They thought Coach Prime going to bring that to Colorado. Some old school analysts, NFL, these billionaires, they some old, decrepit billionaires. These old folk, right? Same old school analysts and coaches accused Coach Prime of being more about media hype when he got the job at Colorado, YouTube channels and social media buzz than actual on-the-field coaching fundamentals. Why are they concerned analysts? They're not coaching the team. Analysts are just analysts. They are writers. They write papers. They don't know nothing about coaching. But they took it so far, this became a scandal against the Sanders family because them 50 kids ran off crying and the scandal began. The NCAA, you got to understand, these are white folks. The director of NCAA, these are white folks. These white folks' children. They complaining to the NCAA. This is my opinion, but I have a legal mind. I am a legal advocate. I am telling you, if you find a motive, you'll find what really happened on draft day. And I believe we're right on top of the motive. Just don't make sense to people because people ain't going further back than the NFL. They're not going back to the NCAA and what Coach Prime is really going through at Colorado, what Sheduer was really going through at Colorado with them cheating NCAA referees. I don't want to get ahead of myself. We're going to get there. Let's get back to the flash over substance. Now, they believed also the critics worried that all the attention could fizzle. If the wins didn't come, they thought all of the popularity and all of the attention would fizzle out if the wins didn't come, making it a PR stunt, embarrassment more than a football resilience and a football comeback for Colorado. You see, they thought maybe it was too much flash over the substance that he would bring. What was the last thing they was talking about at Colorado? Now, this is going to be a big one, right? Now, these are analysts. Who are the analysts? These white analysts. They going to fight with the power of the pen to try to sabotage and create a scandal with the pen because they really mad because Deion Sanders said that he's coming with his Louis and they didn't like it. Who didn't like it? Them 50 white boys that left the team. Could have been a couple black boys. I don't recall when I seen them talking about the Louis, but could have been. But it was primarily white players, and it was a lot of them. Now, the other risk and criticism that the athletic director, Rick George, was under by these analysts was that the financial gamble that he was taking, bringing Coach Prime to that level. After they had so many rough, tough seasons, Colorado admitted that they didn't have the money on hand for Coach Prime multi-million-dollar contract when they hired him. They were essentially betting that Prime, that his presence would raise enough revenue to cover these costs. So that was a risk, right? Right? They was essentially betting on Coach Prime that he was going to do it. That's very risky because if the team didn't perform, the financial boost could have fallen flat on his face, right? Leaving the athletic department in a hole. They still have to pay Coach Prime. And they already owe these other coaches that they got to still pay that didn't do a good job with the felon programs and the felon winning records that they had. Oh, yeah. Those athletic directors, when they choose these coaches to come in, they need them to win. And athletic director Rick George, he really needed Coach Prime to win because he was in the hole. He was so much in the hole, he couldn't even pay him to come. But Coach Prime came. Oh, they was looking at that as a risk. But the potential locker room culture 2 class, they talked about the locker room class. Who talked about it? Who making this stuff up? Who making all this stuff up? Coach Prime blunt, no-nonsense style can be polarizing to a locker room. And this is what the analysts, these white analysts, it's what they was writing. They had it all up in the frenzy. And not only that, but the Ncaa, they wasn't liking none of it, right? Remember, they run the college program, right? These analysts was having Ncaa and all these head coaches to believe that this polarizing image of Coach Prime, that his emphasis on personal branding, players, social media presence, NIL deals is modern. It's modern. But some worried if it might clash with traditional team first coaches in a college program, in a college football program. Nobody spoke more against the NIL than Coach Prime. They thought he was going to bring his emphasis on personal branding, his own personal brand, players, social media presence, NIL deals. Well, if they ain't paying him, he got to get his money some kind of way. So he used his brand to put money in his pocket. Colorado didn't have a problem with it. Coach Prime didn't have a problem with it. Why in the hell these white analysts having a problem with it? Because they have a scandal. They have collusion getting ready to start. They have an underhand thing that Ncaa and these white folks and white coaches was all doing against Coach Prime. Oh, you ain't heard none of it yet. You ain't heard the half of it yet. Oh, yeah, all this was going on before Sheduer got dropped in the draft. Yeah, I told y'all I had something for y'all that was hot. Now you're going to be able to see it. They also had another criticism, or maybe it will work. High expectations and high pressure. That's what Coach Prime was bringing. The athletic director, it was high expectation and high pressure. By bringing in Coach Prime, Rick George set the bar sky high right away. Anything less than immediate improvement was bound to be seen as failure, making it harder for the staff to have the time to build gradually. It would make it hard for them. Right? And after Colorado hot 3-0 start in 2023, remember, the first year they was there, they only won 4 games. Right? They won 3 more games than the year before Coach Prime came, year 2022. So when Coach Prime came in 2023, they was hot out the box. They won 3 games, 3-0 start, remember? They finished 4-8 on the season, triggering some critics to say that Coach Prime experiment might be stalling. But remember, the Ncaa was nasty. The Ncaa, remember what they did? Oh, we're going to get to what the Ncaa did and how they caused them to lose a lot of the games they lost. Oh, they were nasty. It was collusion, I believe, going on at that level. Again, it's alleged for my opinion, but I'm telling you, I saw this and a lot of people was talking about that this was going on. So they ended with a 4-8 winning season, Coach Prime's first year. Remember, it was high expectation over high pressure, but this was triggering some critics to say that Coach Prime experiment might be stalling, that it might be fading out already. This is what many believe the Ncaa, the National Collegiate Athletic Association, that governs over college football, what they wanted. They wanted this to fade out. They wanted Coach Prime to fail. They wanted him, in so many words, to get the heck out of town, to get out of the PWI college level program, go back down to your HBCU. And the opponent team's head coaches who was feeding all into this and who was also feeling this pressure of Coach Prime effect on that level, they was complaining too. Yeah, what the coach name earlier we said, Coach Dan Lannon, Coach Norval from CSU, and Coach Dan Lannon from Oregon. Yeah, them 2 coaches, they was making them racist statements, old venomous statements toward Coach Prime and the team. You got to get it. In short, this was a bold move that the athletic director was doing because it promised fast wins, big money, and national relevance, right? But it also came with a risk of creating instability, backlash, and long-term headaches if the on-the-field results didn't match the off-field noise. There's a lot of off-field noise, and it wasn't being made by Colorado. Off-field noise was coming from the Ncaa, right? What they was trying to do to Colorado, right? With them cheating referees that they pay that wasn't calling the games correct for Colorado, that was causing their very best to cause Colorado to lose. Oh, yeah, that's why they had a 4-8 season. Everybody was talking about the cheating of the referees. Remember, the referees work and get paid from the Ncaa to referee and officiate the games. Oh, yeah, they was cheating big time against Colorado. They wanted them to have a losing season because ultimately Ncaa wanted Coach Prime out of there. In short, you got to understand, man, they needed fast wins, big money, and national relevance, and they needed it quick. But many believe that the Ncaa also wanted Coach Prime to also fail as a coach, coaching on a PWI primary white institution level, while they blocked the HBCU key players. Remember that center Tyler Number 56, who transferred from JSU to play for Coach Prime at Colorado legally, according to his medical diagnosis condition that made his transfer a legal transfer to play for Coach Prime when he left JSU with Coach Prime. Remember what the NCAA did to this boy? I told you the NCAA was pulling this collusion, was pulling this crap, man, this discrimination way before the NFL got their chance to do it to Sheduer. Yes, everyone remember the situation with Tyler. Number 56, I believe, the offensive lineman, the center, the main center for Sheduer that would block for Sheduer and keep Sheduer from taking all them hits his first year. Yeah, NCAA had their hands in the pot. They had something with that. They made it where the transfer to Colorado got blocked by the NCAA, even though he was medically cleared to play. Now, ain't that something for you? Does that sound like collusion to you? Maybe, maybe not. Well, let's keep talking about it. What happened next? Right? This boy was wanted, right? You got to understand something here. You guys got to get this. To transfer to Colorado, but had been cleared by the doctors to continue playing. However, the NCAA stepped in and denied his immediate eligibility at Colorado. Yeah, the NCAA did this illegally. This is where many believe the NCAA collusion themselves had begun way before the NFL. See, they were setting the stage for the NFL. All this stuff was already set, allegedly. Why the NCAA would block this boy's transfer? The NCAA has been tightening rules on players who attempted to transfer multiple times, so-called multi-time transfers. Number 56 with JSU for Colorado, with Coach Prime, Shedeur Sanders from JSU, right? They was trying to consider him as a two-time transfer, which indeed he was, right? But under their rules, and unless you qualify for a waiver, like a medical hardship or a family reason, you're required to sit out a year, even though he was medically, get this, y'all, even though he was medically cleared and he had a medical waiver. The NCAA apparently didn't find his case met the waiver standards, although he was cleared to play with a medical waiver. Now, you tell me that ain't discrimination. Now, you tell me that ain't no collusion. This is from the NCAA against Coach Prime. This way before the NFL theory of collusion against Sheduer. But yeah, it's a connection between the NCAA and the NFL. And you're going to see the connection. Then you tell me what you think. I told you the NCAA was being nasty, folks. Man, the hate and discrimination got worse. Look, why it became so controversial for Coach Prime in Colorado? Because Coach Prime and Colorado fans blasted the decision, saying it was unfair, and the NCAA is inconsistent in how they approve or deny these waivers. And that's why they thought it was so controversial about the medical waiver for Tyler, number 56, the center from JSU. It was unfair. It was clearly unfair. It was inconsistent in how they approve or deny these waivers because he had a medical clearance to play. They were supposed to approve it. They had already approved it. He was medically cleared to play, and they blocked it. NCAA blocked it. You see how they blocking Sheduer? They dropped him down to the fifth. NCAA had already started doing this to Coach Prime with Tyler Johnson. It was Tyler Johnson before Sheduer. NCAA did it to Tyler Johnson. NFL doing it to Sheduer. Now you tell me there's not a connection here. I told you. I have some motives here. Critics pointed out that many players at other schools with similar cases got approved with their medical clearance. Coach Prime used this case as another example of what he sees as NCAA bureaucracy, or could we say collusion, hurting athletes, especially when they are trying to get back on the field after medical setbacks, right? Right? You get it? See, I told you there's a connection between the NCAA and the NFL. The bigger issue, this ties into a broader fight in college football right now, right? The NCAA is under a lot of pressure over its handling of transfer rules and waivers. Oh, yeah, there are lawsuits and legal challenges trying to force the NCAA to loosen up their grip on these transfer restrictions. Many people calling for Coach Prime and quarterback Sheduer to do the same to the NFL. I told you there's the same stuff. There's no secret. There's a connection between the NCAA and the NFL and what they've been doing to the Sanders family. Right? And so people calling for Coach Prime and quarterback Sheduer to do the same on the NFL level legally because of how discriminative they were to Sheduer during the draft process to hold him out late just to humble him. But humble him for what? Just to hurt him. But hurt him for what? Just to punish him. But punish him for what? Oh, you mean a fancy way of saying humiliate, discriminate, and retaliate against an elite 23-year-old college football player and rob him of $40 million in athletic value? Because you personally don't like what happened on the PWI level with how they came into the PWI level, how he said he would bring his Louis and them 50 primarily white football players just left the team and left him high and dry and went and started telling lies and the analysts start writing all this faulty stuff. So behind the scenes, all of y'all got together, the NCAA and some of the coaches, Dan Lanning and Norvell for CSU, especially Dan Lanning over at Oregon with his venomous statement, oh, we gonna get to it. See? So NFL, you gonna do this to Sheduer? You gonna connect with all this fuss and all this discrimination from the NCAA, and you gonna connect with them? Oh, y'all all in the bed together? See? The multi-million-dollar, $40 million this young man lost in athletic value because you personally don't like the fact that his life, come on now, we got to get this right. You personally don't like that his life is as privileged as the NFL owners and the owners' families and the owners' children's who have been clouding their wealth, living in big mansions, driving $1 million cars, going on $1 million vacations and sunbathing on $1 million yachts, and stealing more oil out of the earth and more gold out of Africa than Sheduer can ever put around his neck. Who y'all fooling? Since their great and great after that great granddaddy was born. You white billionaires that own these teams, you are way more cloutful, way more arrogant, way more confident than 1,000,000 Deion Sanders and Sheduers can be. You want to use that as a smokescreen, but this is not the reason why y'all did them the way y'all did them. This goes back to NCAA and how Coach Prime came to the NCAA level and began to bring his son to give his son the opportunities and other black HBCU players on that level. And y'all didn't want them coming on that level. You didn't want it. NCAA didn't want it. The 50 players that was already on that level that left the team didn't want it. Their moms, their parents crying, and this collusion possibly started on the NCAA level. And NFL, shame on you for connecting to it. Colorado, under Coach Sanders, has become a high-profile example because they bring in a large number of transfers each year. And the team is constantly growing. And the more they grow, the more success they have, the more NCAA hates them. The more you guys want to clap back. So maybe the NCAA needed some of y'all here on the NFL level. Oh, y'all didn't do it to all the other players, but in some way you did because a lot of the players could have went a little higher than they did, right? But the main person you want to hurt was the main influencer, the main driver, the main leader of the team, which we know the main influencer and leader of any team is the quarterback. So y'all was trying to hit Coach Prime because he influenced his son to be as great as he is, and his son has influenced the team to be as great as they are. And the analysts are lying and lying. They still lying with the scandal that he didn't do interviews right. Oh, it's just a big scandal. These are the ones with the clandestine bags over their head. NCAA had already started this, allegedly, in my opinion. You see, you gotta understand what's going on. I told y'all I had something for you. Check out the impact on Colorado that Coach Prime and the fact of losing his center would mean. And NCAA knew this, but they was wanting Coach Prime to lose more games in his first year. They wanted him to look like a failure. They wanted him, and so they tried to make sure that it happened. NCAA did this. Losing the JSU center when he came to Colorado, the offensive lineman, it hurt the team. And that's what NCAA wanted. Nasty, snowball coach, Norvell, he was no different. Y'all don't remember that? Oh, I got to bring y'all up to date. Coach Prime and his staff they began to rebuild the O-line. So missing out on a medically cleared, experienced center was a blow to the whole plan. He was building a team. Remember, 50 of these white players left. So the NCAA did, when these white players started complaining, my opinion, NCAA said, we got something for them. Since y'all can't play, we going to make it where we tear down the team. That sound like colluded to me. So they made it where the offense center couldn't play in the during game for no reason. He had a medical clearance. He was cleared to play, and NCAA blocked it. Hurt this boy feelings. This boy sat out a whole year. But what they care about hurting Tyler's and feeling? 50 white boys who didn't get a darn win or barely got a win at Colorado, who left the team and left Coach Prime high and dry, that got scared, didn't want to compete, want him just to give them the position. So the NCAA is clapping back in this way when this man deserved to play because he won the position. He deserved to play, no different than the white players who, if they would have won the position, Coach Prime would have let them play. So they clapping back illegally? You mean to tell me NCAA going to clap back for them in an illegal way? You mean to tell me NFL going to drop Shedeur Sanders down to the 5th round illegally in an illegal way of discrimination because they want to clap back at Coach Prime for what happened on the NCAA level? Oh, I told you there was a connection here. Sanders and his staff went through a hell of a lot at Colorado with what NCAA and the coaches was coming together to do allegedly. Oh, my goodness. It was unfair And a big blow sounds very similar to the NFL late draft pick of Sheduer, right? It seems like the NCAA and the NFL had the same agenda against Coach Prime and quarterback Sheduer as soon as they got to Colorado, even before their first game ever in Colorado. But why is the NCAA clapping back at Colorado Prime and Sheduer? Many believe and allege that collusion on the act to collude started here with the NCAA. With the NCAA director. Remember all that drama with Colorado with the NCAA director and the opponent head coaches, CSU Coach Norvell, and Oregon Coach Dan Lanning? Remember all that against Colorado? Remember that? They play in the same conference, right? It was primarily these two coaches, CSU and Oregon. They venomous statements made about Colorado football players and the team. Don't worry, we're going to get there. And I promise to show you how this alleged collusion had already started on an NCAA alleged collusion, okay, had already started on the NCAA National Collegiate and NCAA head coaches level first and became the main motive and premises for the NFL alleged collusion to continue against Coach Prime and quarterback Sheduer during the draft. That's why nobody can understand why that happened. This was brewing this turned into a flame inside the NCAA. They wanted Coach Prime and Sheduer's like neck on a chop block. Even the NFL, even I believe they got the NFL owners to buy into this. Oh, you don't believe that is possible? Okay, by the time this is over, you're going to see the possible motive and connection between the NCAA and the NFL and what they did to Sheduer on draft day. Don't worry, we're going to get to it, right? Now, remember, the alleged collusion had already started on an NCAA National Collegiate and NCAA head coaches, right, became the main motive and premises for the NFL alleged collusion to continue against Coach Prime and Sheduer. Right? Keep in mind, and remember, when Coach Prime and quarterback Sheduer responded to CSU head coach Norvell for saying his mother didn't raise him right. Remember that coach said to Prime, right? He insinuated that his mom didn't raise him right. And remember the Oregon head coach Dan Landon, who made the venomous statement to Colorado that Oregon don't play for clicks, but they play for wins. Now that may not sound like much to y'all, right? But it was venomous, right? It set up a lot of this stuff that they're going through now with the NFL draft. When he said we play for clicks, as though Colorado team was playing for something else totally different. You get it? Oh, man. The CSU head coach, and Oregon head coach, Landon, both set the table. They both set the table for the NFL owners. Let's get these names right. I want to get these names right? Because I want us to know who these coaches are. I want to get the names right. Dan Landon and Coach Norvell. I believe I got Landon correct. So we're going to move on. We ain't going to hold up the show, right? So just keep them coaches' name in mind. Norvell for Colorado State Ram University in Oregon. Dan Landon. I think that's his name. If I'm wrong, forgive me, but I think his name is Dan Landon. Now, the CSU head coach and the Oregon head coach, they both set the table for the NFL owners to see Coach Prime and quarterback Sheduer, his son, as a major problem in football. Right? And the analysts that they had, these analysts that was all around the school writing up all this bad stuff. They wanted to get this to the attention of the NFL owners. And apparently they did. Remember, these are primarily white folk now, right? This is the clandestine approach that they took on the NCAA, before it got to NFL level, right? Against Coach Prime and Sheduer, his son, as a major problem. They want to paint them as a major problem in football. As this put the fear in NFL owners' heads that black culture was more important to Coach Prime and his son, Sheduer, than traditional cultural values of NCAA or NFL level of football. Boom. I told you I had that fire. Allegedly, this is from my research. If you put the pieces to the puzzle together, that's the only thing it could mean. The reason why this doesn't make any sense to anybody on the NFL level is because this act of collusion had already started or been put in motion primarily by the CSU head coach Norvell and Oregon head coach Dan Landon on an NCAA level. The collusion had already started. These two coaches set the table for everything Coach Prime and quarterback Sheduer and the Sanders' entire family experienced in the NFL draft on draft day, on day one in that first round. You talking about nasty. Oh, they were celebrating it. The NFL, in my opinion, had seen enough. They had heard enough. The NFL had seen enough. They heard enough. Not from the failed draft interview, right, of Sheduer, because that's all lies. Not from the clout, that's all lies. Not from the jury, the bravado, the brashness, or the overconfidence of quarterback Sheduer. Let's say this again. The NFL, in my opinion, had seen enough and heard enough from the NCAA and the coaches on that level, right? Because they've been painting this picture about Colorado Coach Prime and his son the entire time. Oh, my goodness. You got to understand this. It wasn't from the failed interviews of Sheduer, his clout, jury, bravado, brashness, or his overconfidence. No, it had nothing to do with that with quarterback Sheduer. But instead, it was the NCAA collusion of hatred and discrimination the NCAA was passing on to the NFL. Like, look at this, see this. And they was building this false narrative. This was purely a clapback at Coach Prime for coming to coach on a D1 PWI college level, and them 50 primarily white players of Colorado who was crying and whining and left the team before he got there, and they created this big racist narrative that really didn't exist against Coach Prime in Colorado. So they wanted to clap back, right? Remember, Coach Prime said he was bringing his Louis, which meant what? Primarily black HBCU players that replaced 50 vacated slots that was primarily held by white Colorado football players. And this resonated through NCAA. It resonated to the NFL, to the white analysts, and everybody was wishing for their downfall, including them racist NCAA referees who was not calling those plays where the players are being held on offense and the players are being held on defense, and they would not call those plays, causing Colorado to only win 4 games in their first season. Now, you tell me about collusion. They success probably would have got a bowl game in the first year, and they probably got a championship in their second year if it wasn't from them nasty colluding referees that was playing nasty and helping NCAA to clap back. This was no mistake, and it's my belief and strong opinion that the NFL colluded with the NCAA as a deliberate and intentional clapback. My personal belief at Coach Prime. They clapping back at him and his son for changing the football culture from a PWI, more acceptable culture, to an HBCU, unacceptable black culture. And that's how they saw it. 4 clicks, as Oregon head coach tagged them. You see? Let's say it again. This was no mistake, in my opinion, in my belief, my strong opinion, that the NFL colluded with the NCAA as a deliberate and intentional clapback at Coach Prime and his son for changing the football culture from a PWI, primary white institution on a D1 level at Colorado, right, from a more acceptable traditional culture of football to an HBCU, historical black college and university, ways of an unacceptable black culture for clicks, as Oregon head coach tagged them with that racist notion, that venomous notion that Colorado, they only playing for clicks. Oh, this resonated. Remember Oregon? Remember Oregon? Remember Oregon? Because we're going to connect Oregon to the NFL during quarterback Sheduer draft process. Remember the name Oregon. Remember Oregon. And then without a doubt, everyone is going to see how real this alleged collusion really is between NCAA and the NFL against the Sanders on draft day. I promise you, I'm going to quiet all the confusion and all the doubt about what is really going on, because it's been going on. I stand on everything I believe as an experienced legal advocate. That I am. That the motive never lie. And if you follow the motive, what is alleged just might be true. So let's focus on the huge move the NFL made during that draft concerning quarterback Sheduer to see if the glove fit. Let's see if the collusion glove fit. Possibly. Collusion was going on and is going on between the NCAA and the NFL, or not. Let's back up and say it again. So let's focus on one huge move the NFL made during the draft concerning quarterback Sheduer to see if the glove fit of possible collusion going on between the NCAA and the NFL or not. Remember, I told you to remember Oregon. And let's see if this fits. Well, we remember the head coach of Oregon, right? Remember Dan Lannon, who set the table for the NFL to see Colorado team and players as some untraditional losers because they all play for clicks and he played for wins. Well, guess who the NFL drafted in the 3rd round over quarterback Sheduer? In the 5th round from Oregon. Remember that team Oregon? Remember that head coach Oregon that said them things about Coach Prime? Oh, wonder why Oregon quarterback Gabriel from head coach Dan Lannon, Oregon football team got drafted in the 3rd round? Oh, wait a minute. Did you say Oregon? Yes, I said Oregon. We're going to make this thing stick. So check this out. You got to check this out now. You got to hear this. So my legal mind tells me what is the motive behind this draft order. When quarterback Sheduer is rated the best quarterback ever in the FBS, right? With the highest quarterback completion percentage over Oregon quarterback, unless some other type of act was taking place between the NCAA and NFL. I say it again. So my legal mind tells me What is the motive behind the draft order? When quarterback Sheduer is rated the best quarterback ever in the FBS with the highest quarterback completion percentage over Oregon quarterback, unless some other type act was taking place between the NCAA and NFL before Oregon quarterback got drafted to the NFL. And we know that there was some stuff going on with Oregon coach in Colorado before this draft. You see the pieces? You still don't see it? Okay, let me help you. It's no mistake why these white NFL billionaire owners drafted Oregon quarterback first. He was in the third round. It's no mistake why these white NFL billionaire owners drafted. It's no mistake why these white NFL billionaire owners drafted Oregon quarterback first before Sheduer, 2 rounds ahead of Sheduer. Although Sheduer draft ratings was way better and way higher, the NCAA and NFL wanted to clap back hard and make it known that they support Oregon's white head coach, Dan Lanning, traditional football culture. Oh my goodness, let's say it again, man. Whoa. The NCAA and NFL wanted to clap back hard and make it known that they support Oregon's white head coach traditional football cultural ways and not Coach Prime's or his son's quarterback Sheduer over what they call HBCU ways of a lower standard. And they try to paint this picture and make this stick to Sheduer. And so to make this stand out, you got to see the connection here. You got to see the connection. To put salt in the wound, the NFL owners had Sheduer sit just to be drafted in the 5th round by the same Cleveland Browns NFL team that already selected the lesser quarterback Gabriel. Get this, from where? From Oregon, the NCAA school who had this beef with Colorado. The NCAA who was trying to collude these referees to bring Colorado down. Well, isn't it a surprise? Talking about putting salt in the wound. If you can't see the NCAA and the NFL alleged collusion at this point on draft day to bring Sheduer in and put him in right behind Oregon's quarterback who was drafted 2 rounds ahead of him, you don't see the connection? You still can't see the collusion connection between the NCAA and NFL? They're giving it to you in your face. Oh, man, we got to stand up for something or we fall for anything as a people. Coach Prime and quarterback Sheduer haven't done anything wrong on the NCAA collegiate level. No different than Sheduer haven't done nothing wrong to be drafted late as the 144th pick in the 5th round. But both the NCAA and the NFL have the exact same agenda, and that is to do their very best to disrupt the success of both Coach Prime and Sheduer for one reason and one reason only, and that's because of the fear of their brand exceeding the NFL brand. Get this, the fear of the Sanders brand exceeding the NFL brand. All this other talk about clout and jury and confidence, all of that is a smokescreen. And all these ex-NFL players that's been paid to speak against Prime is been paid so that hides the fact, the real fact, but the motive built on racism. All of this is built on racism. And to hide racism, they have to get ex-NFL black players to speak against Coach Prime. Yes, your Chris Carters. You get it? Your Cam Newtons. You got to think. These people still get retirement checks from the NFL. You got to think. So you got to feel me when I say this. Listen to me clearly. Coach Prime and quarterback Sheduer haven't done anything wrong on the NCAA collegiate, national college collegiate level. No different than Sheduer haven't done nothing wrong and anything wrong on draft day to be picked 144th pick in the 5th round. But both the NCAA and the NFL have the exact same agenda, and that is to do their very best to disrupt the success of both Coach Prime and Sheduer for one reason and one reason only. And that's because of their fear that Sanders brand, right, exceeding their NFL brand. Even if both their brands bring the NCAA or the NFL brand way more money with them than without them. This ain't got nothing to do with all them lies the NFL and their snowball pundits been telling everybody about quarterback Sheduer and why he didn't get drafted in the 1st round. This is about one thing and one thing only, a collusion to block and hurt the Sanders brand. That is my opinion. What this simply means is what we want is our 1st, 2nd, and 3rd thing. What this simply means is what we want is our 1st, 2nd, and 3rd thing. Well, what is that? Yes, the NFL, that is their brand over all other brands. That is their brand. Let's say this again. What this simply means, the NFL is saying what we want 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, no matter what, is for our brand to be over your brand. Who's making money now? Just think about it. Think about it. Who's making money now? Number one, they bring the Oregon football player in over him. Salt in the wound. Remember, that's connecting the NCAA to this whole thing. That's why Gabriel went before Sheduer. He wasn't better than Sheduer in college. Remember, Dan Lannon said they playing for clicks. This is Dan Lannon quarterback Gabriel. This is why, and get this, they made a big statement. They put both of these quarterbacks on the same team. They're sending a statement if you can look through the smoke screen. NFL and NCAA is sending a statement to Coach Prime and quarterback Sheduer. So let's get back on topic here because I got to wrap this thing up, man, because this thing is hot, right? Now, I was on the fact that about the brand, right? NFL first, second, and third thing is their brand over Sheduer brand. Their brand over Prime brand. You don't think I'm lying? Check this out. Who's making more money now that Sheduer is in Cleveland? Cleveland is. Their brand is. They've made more money off Shedeur's jersey than the 4-year contract of $4 million already, just off jerseys alone. That's my opinion, which means Shedeur brand name made the money. The $4 million that they paid him on contract, his brand name on those jerseys made that money back for Cleveland, which means Cleveland is getting him for cheap labor. It's like Shedeur already paid for his own contract. You get it? His jerseys has already paid for the $4 million or $1 million a year he's going to get from Cleveland. It's like his brand has already paid for his contract. Cleveland didn't have to pay for it. Oh, you don't think that? You don't think they're trying to make sure their brand outdo his brand? Check this out. If you don't think the jersey sale proves it, that the jersey sale's going to pay for the $4 million that they're offering Sheduer on his contract, which means basically they're not giving him anything. Sheduer giving that to himself. If that's his brand name on the jersey, that's making the money. You get it? They are playing the Sanders family all the way around. You don't believe so? Watch this. The NFL move was calculated and simple. Draft him in the late round for cheap. Use his actual first round draft pick, $40 million. NFL telling Cleveland, draft him for, this is very simple what they did to him in the draft, drafted him late. If you follow this, draft him in the late rounds for cheap. Pennies on the dollar. Use his $40 million that he should have got and pay and give it to the other draft picks that Cleveland picked to cover their financial contracts. The ones that was picked ahead of Sheduer, like Oregon quarterback, and the other players that was chosen in the 4 rounds before Sheduer, his $40 million they supposed to gave him paid for their contracts. So they use his money again to pay for those contracts to get those other players on their team. They are playing Sheduer all the way around. So, okay, they use his money to pay for the players they chose ahead of him, the $40 million he lost. Because I'm telling you, Oregon, Gabriel probably only got no more than about $6 million, right? But Shedeur's $40 million he was supposed to get if Cleveland would have drafted him in the first round, but Cleveland didn't. They set him back in the 5th, and they knew he would be sitting there in the 5th when they come back to get him. So they use his money to get all the other players, and they still got him for cheap. And they use his jersey money to pay off the contract that they gave him of $4 million, which would be $1 million a year. So basically, they got him for nothing. His own name paid for everything. Shedeur's own name paid the $40 million for the picks ahead of him, and his own name on the jersey paid for his own contract. They are playing the Sanders brand on this young man. Okay, so they made him what? To get him for cheap. But what? Take Sheduer projected $40 million and pay for all the other players they drafted over him, including paying his first round draft pick money to get the 3rd round from Oregon. Remember the Ncaa collusion with Oregon, with the team saying stuff foul, venomous to Coach Prime, and then they're going to take the Oregon quarterback over him, use his $40 million to pay for it, and then choose Sheduer to play on the same Cleveland team in the 5th round, which no team has never gotten 2 quarterbacks in the same during draft season. They did this on purpose. They were saying we're clapping back for what happened on the NCAA level, and we're going to bring the quarterback from the NCAA level since you let go 50 primarily white players. Then guess what we're going to do? We're going to bring Oregon's NCAA football player who coach said you only play for clicks, and we're going to bring him in the 3rd round, and we're going to bring your son in who's better than him in the 5th round. And get this, to put salt on the wound, we're going to put your son on the same team of Cleveland that sit behind him. Man, if you can't see the connection between NCAA and NFL now, then something's wrong. Something's really wrong. I told you I had something for y'all. right? Just to draft him in the 5th round and pay him pennies or so much lesser in the money that Cleveland probably already made. They made that up in the jersey sales on Sanders' brand name and not their own name. Basically, he's working in Cleveland for free. Sheduer. The NFL is capitalizing off his name, y'all. I'm telling you, and his brand that his dad built, just so that he doesn't gain off of his own brand, that they don't have a problem with it. Think I'm lying? Get this again. The NFL is capitalizing off his name, the brand that his daddy built. And the NFL is collecting off of that, not Sheduer, just so that Sheduer doesn't gain anything off of it, his own brand, but that they gain off of the brand. You think I'm lying? Okay, watch this. I got one more thing to say here. If you think I'm lying about this brand thing, I told you it was their brand over all other brands, right? They getting the money off the jersey. They took his $40 million. They paid for the other draft picks for Cleveland. They made him sit there to the 5th round. All this, in my belief, had to be collusion, because how would he still be sitting in the 5th round? And all these other teams, these 31 teams, got 3 slots for quarterbacks. That's a total of 93 slots. 31 other teams. But he's still sitting there in the 5th round for Cleveland to get him. An Oregon quarterback go before him. Remember all the drama at the Ncaa level? You can't see Dan Lannon, the head coach of Oregon, and his quarterback going before Coach Prime, coach quarterback, which is his son. The Ncaa drama going to the NFL, and they clapping back. They all clapping back to draft him late because of this and stick that boy in Cleveland. You can't see it now. The NFL is capitalizing off his name and brand that his daddy built, just so that they don't capitalize. That's all they wanted. They don't care anything about no clout, no confidence. They're saying, we want to capitalize off our brand, and we're going to capitalize off your brand that you built too, just as long as he don't capitalize off of it. You don't believe it? Okay, what's going on in Cleveland right now? Right? Okay, Cleveland has already sold his jersey, right? They already sold his jersey, right? They already made the money. But guess what they're doing now? Right? So they've already made the money off his jersey in the NFL already, Cleveland. But guess what they've done? Guess what they've done now? And it's going to prove this to you by stealing his brand. They're making his name and brand, which he gets nothing for it. Cleveland has recently changed the number on his jersey. They changed the number on his jersey from number 2 to number 12. When they already sold the jersey with number 2 on it, now they're trying to get double the money. They already sold the real number he has is number 2, right? Cleveland's trying to get double dollars by selling the new jersey all over again. You see what they're doing? They making money off his brand, and they mocking him at the same time by giving him number 12. Y'all know that Travis Hunter wore number 12. It's almost like they're saying to him, we rather have Travis Hunter over you. They doing so much mind game to this boy. So much is going on, and I really feel for Sheduer. I really feel for him, because these people, they are doing this. This ain't no mistake. This is discrimination to the highest level. And you may not think number 2 is important to Sheduer, but it is. What does this also mean? Well, the NFL knows this destroys his logo brand. Sheduer logo brand, his name is legendary, right? His name is legendary. That has the money symbol with the number 2 engraved in it. He's been promoting that since day one, way before he got to Colorado. He's legendary with the money sign symbol in the number 2. It's all in his jewelry, right? It's the same symbol on all his jewelry pieces as well. The NFL is deliberately attacking Sheduer's image, his character, his culture, and everything he's been building his brand since the time he was little. And they're taking the money from it. They're saying, no, you're not going to be number 2 no more. Now you're going to have to change all the logos on your chains, all the engravements on your chains, all the shirts, your clothes, all of your legendary gear that you got going on. You ain't going to be number 2. You're going to be number 12. Matter of fact, that's Travis Hunter number. So they're going to cause a collision, because the number 12 is going to be Travis Hunter. That's supposed to be a separate number. When you talk about branding, Adidas deals and all that, is the number. They are destroying this boy character and everything right in front of him. I told you, they're attacking his image, his character, his culture, his brand, with an effort to tear him down as a person, which is illegal, and it's discrimination in every sense. So you still can't see the alleged collusion? Seriously, y'all? Y'all can't see the Ncaa and the NFL Oregon connection in Cleveland? Both Oregon quarterback and Cleveland quarterback? When Oregon coach was going at Colorado, when Coach Prime team saying that they play for clicks, and then the NFL draft their quarterback ahead of Sheduer 2 rounds before, when he was nowhere near as good as Sheduer? You don't see the connection? You don't think they're clapping back together? You don't think they're laying in bed together? You think that this is a wild coincidence? Okay, I got another way to get your attention. Make sure you subscribe to What's Up TV Sports and listen to the NFL. Nuff effing lies. Telling you the Django truth part 1. Make sure you listen to Nuff effing lies. Telling you the Django truth part 1. Nuff stands for NFL. Nuff F effing L lies. Nuff effing lies. Telling you the Django truth part 1 is already out. You got to check out part 2. Once you hear this connection and once you hear it explained this way, then you may then understand and you may able to see it. You haven't heard nothing until you've heard the Django movie comparison in part 1. Part 2 will be dropping in a couple of days. And I'm telling you, the comparisons of the movie Django and how the NFL is treating Coach Prime and Sheduer fits like a glove. This is King Nchaa giving y'all the fire on What's Up TV Sports. Never say goodbye. Just say see you later until the next one drop.